Can someone confirm that I can hear? You guys can hear me and you can see my screen. Cool. So we'll do a small recap. So what we have done in yesterday's session. So we installed Java. So basically we discussed about the Java installation. We discussed about Java installation, and we explained we explained our computer. So our computer, like where Java is installed on our machine, where Java is installed on our machine, right? So we have done the Java installation. So we have also seen what is a compiler, what is a compiler, and what is an interpreter, what is an interpreter. So type of interpreters like JIT interpreter and AOT interpreter, ahead of time interpreter. So when JIT will get invoked, what is JDK and what is JRE, when we need JDK and when we need JRE. We discussed about the basic details of about the installations, about the installation. So in today's session, from today onwards, we'll start with the basics. Okay, the fundamental for any programming language you take. For example, if you're learning Tamil or maybe English, right? You start with the very basics of the programming, very basics of the language, right? You will learn with the character set, or maybe you learn with the character sets, like with alphabets, right? Then you go for the words. Then you will know about the rules and regulations, like grammar, something like this, right? And then you frame the sentences. Then you frame the sentences. Similarly, Java is also a language which machines can understand, which machines can understand. So this also has some fundamentals. This also has some fundamentals. Okay, okay. This also has some fundamentals, and we should know what are the rules and regulations of this. When we are learning about the fundamentals, we should also know what are the rules, or like conventions, right? What are the conventions that are defined inside your compiler? What are the conventions or rules defined predefined inside your compiler? So do remember that compiler is loaded with all the rules. This is already Compiler is loaded with all the rules of the programming language, all the rules of your Java programming language. Very important. The compiler knows. How does the compiler knows? The person who has developed these compilers. So they have already preloaded all these rules into this compiler program. Okay, so it knows all the conventions of your programming language. So before we know about the fundamentals and rules and regulations, the main agenda of our class is to learn about OOPS, right? Object oriented, object oriented programming principles, programming system, programming system or structure, or you can call it as a structure also. Object oriented programming systems or structures. So why we need to learn these fundamentals? So what is the benefit? Like why we are learning Java now? It's not like it's not like you know we learn some language for some reason, right? We learn some language for some reason, right? So now we are learning Java to understand the programming system of the object oriented programming system. How these objects are represented inside your Java program. How the objects are represented inside the Java programs. Okay. So the main agenda of Java is to explain about this object-oriented programming system. So we will represent these objects inside our Java programs. We'll represent the objects inside our Java programs. But for that, we should know what is an object. For that, we should know what is an object. So first we will learn about what is an object. We'll understand what is an object, and we'll give some examples, some use cases about the objects, how this will be represented, okay, in the programming, and what are the basic elements of a programming. We'll come to know that. Then we'll learn about the rules and fundamentals. Okay, so we'll learn about the basic elements of the programming first. Okay, and then we'll know about how to define that in the program, which is like rules. So let us first talk about the objects before we learn about the fundamentals. So object, first we should know understand object. What is an object? What is an object? Okay, anything in this world, anything in this world which has physical existence, which has physical or virtual existence, which has physical or virtual existence, is called as an object. Anything in this world, you take anything, any real-time objects, you take a car, which is an object in program in Java. You take a book, which is an object in Java. You take a pen, or you take a pencil, you take a computer, it's a object. Any real-time, anything in this world which is exist in this world is considered as an object. Fine. So now in that case I can consider Anil is also an object. Anil is also can be considered as an object, can be considered as an object, right? Now if Anil is considered as an object, so if Anil is considered as an object, now then Nimra college, I can make Nimra is also as an object, the college, right? Which is an Nimra is also I can make it as an object because it is existence, which is already exist in this world. Okay, anything, yourself, you can consider yourself as an object. Okay, so the main goal of object oriented programming structure is to define or to explain about the objects, So the main object oriented programming principles, object oriented programming structure explains about the objects. Okay, it will explain about an object. For example, if I consider Anil as an object, if I consider Anil as an object, now Anil will have some properties. Anil will have some properties. Anil will have some properties. What are the properties? Properties like that belongs to this object called Anil. So Anil has a name, right? Anil has a first name. Anil has a first name, like my surname, first name or surname, which is a property of an Anil, right? Anil has a middle name. Anil has a middle name. Anil has a last name. Anil has age, right? Anil has age. Anil has height, weight. Anil has height, weight, and there are many other properties. Anil has degree, right? Anil has degree. Anil has nationality. Anil has nationality. Anil has you can think an email. phone number, whatever that belongs to Anil, right? Email, phone number, Aadhaar ID, PAN card, PAN card number, right? And if you take any other details like my credit card, my credit card number, my passwords, all these are the properties. All these are the properties. Okay. So every object will have some properties. Every object will have some properties within itself. Within itself. For example, now I have taken Anil as an object. If I take if I take a dog as an object, if I take a dog as an object, if I take a dog, dog will have a name. Okay. Dog will have a color, right? It will have a cost attached to it. It will have a breed name. It will have a breed name, right? So there will be some other properties of it, right? So it has its own. If you take a car, if I take car has name, color, engine type, right? And whether it is automatic, okay, type of transition, transition type, and much more. It will also have a cost. It will also have maintenance, something like this. Any object you take, right? It will have some properties. It will have some properties. So if I take Anil as an object, and Anil will have some properties. If I take dog as an object, it has some properties. If I take car, it has its own properties. If you take pen, as an example, pen will have a brand name. Pen will have a color, right? Type of color. So it will have also cost, right? It will also will be type of pen, ball pen, gel pen, whatever it is, right? Like that you'll have many properties. Like that it will have many properties. It will have something called uh, what I mean to say that some barcode, anything, anything. So if anything in this object, anything in this world is considered as an object, and every object will have some properties. So how do we represent these properties in our programming? That is what we should learn. So if I take Anil as an object, and if I have some properties, to represent these properties, we need variables. We need variables. So inside programming, okay, if you want to represent any of the properties of an object, how do you represent? With the help of variables. Where now first name is a variable, surname is a variable, middle name is a variable, last name is a variable, age is a variable, height is a variable, right? Weight is a variable. Anything you take. If I take car as an object, okay, the variables of car, I'll be defining the variables of car are defined like name, color, engine type, transition type, cost, maintenance. Okay. Now you can take anything. Water bottle. You take a water bottle as an example. Okay. You take you take a fan as an example, or you take a bike as an example. It will have some properties. So no object in this world, okay, will not have like at least one property is linked to that. At least one property is linked to that object. Okay. At least one property is linked to that object. Okay. So if you take Anil as an object, okay, so these are like the properties or variables. Sir, fine. Anil, you said that, okay, every object will have some properties, and we use variable to collect these property values. To represent these property values, we need variables. So where do exactly these properties we will use? Where do exactly these properties will be used in the programming, right? And how does this help us? How does this help us? If you ask me this question, how does these variables will help us, right? If you ask this question, most of you guys have filled forms. I think most of you guys have filled forms in your colleges, in your colleges, right? In your colleges, maybe you might have gone to some on-site portal like a Gmail registration or a Facebook registration. You might have gone for a Gmail or Facebook registration, right? Or a user creation. Simple to say, a user creation on any portal if you have done, right? What you do? Okay, you're not a registered user. What I'll say, create an account. Create an account. I'm saying create an account in my application. When I say create an account, what I'm doing, I'm collecting the properties of the object. I'm collecting the properties of the objects and storing it somewhere. Somewhere it will be stored. Okay, don't worry about where it stores now, but think that you're creating an account and collecting these properties. So you are collecting these properties and storing somewhere. So you're giving first name, you're giving last name, you're giving username, you'll be giving password, right? You're giving your email, desired email id, your desired email id, xyz details you will provide. You'll provide the phone number and and maybe a recovery email id, something like this, your photocopy, something like this. So what you're doing, you're virtually representing yourself. You're virtually representing yourself inside an application, right? You're creating an user account. You're creating an account for yourself. For example, if Anil is doing that, it will be Anil's account. So in the application we are representing Anil's object. We are representing Anil's object, and Anil's objects properties are collected. Anil's objects properties are collected in the form of variables. Whatever the input that you give, whatever the input that you give, the variable which is sitting inside the in the background will collect the value from you, and it will store it inside, and it will store inside a DB. It will store inside a database. Okay, how it stores? Why? Okay, how it stores? Will not delete now. Just think that the variables will allow you to collect the properties of an object. Variables will allow you to collect the properties of an object in an application. In an application. That's the reason we need variables. That's the reason we need variables. Okay. Any object that you take. Okay. So there will be a representation for it. You go for a showroom, right? You go for a showroom. What they will do, they'll give you a brochure. They'll give you a brochure which physically you can't see the car over there, right? That brochure will explain you the properties of that object, whatever the car that you wanted to buy, whatever the bike that you wanted to buy, right? Right. So it became virtual now. You go to a Flipkart or you go to an Amazon and you're trying to purchase some object. Maybe you're trying to purchase a mobile. You're trying to purchase a mobile. So now mobile is an object. So what are the properties of a mobile? It has a CPU, it has RAM, it has disk, which gets displayed to you, and it will have a cost. It will have a discount. It will have a discount. All these are the properties of that particular mobile. So how these properties are collected? With the help of variables. With the help of variables. How to represent these variables? We'll discuss. How to represent variables? We'll discuss in the upcoming classes. Okay. So to represent the properties of an object, to represent the properties of an object inside a program, we need variables. We need variables. Okay. What is a variable? How the variables will be represented, that we will discuss. Okay. Now, so before I move on, any questions? Any questions on this? what is an object, what are properties. Okay, so how do we represent these properties inside a programming? If anyone has a question, we can discuss that. Assuming there are no questions on this, so let me continue. So now you know that if there is an object, if there is an object, there are object will have some properties. Object will have some properties, right? And properties are represented with the help of variables. With the help of variables. Very good. Now, what is that object will have another thing? So object will have behaviors. Object will have behaviors. Object will have behaviors. So every object that you have, that you take, it will have some properties, it will have some behaviors, and it will have a state. And it will have a state always. Okay, there is a state for an object, there is a behavior for an object, and there is a state for an object, and it will have some properties. We know that. Okay, we capture the properties with the help of variables. Then behaviors. What are behaviors? Behaviors are like actions that you can perform. Actions you can perform. Actions you can perform. So for example, if I take Anil as an object, okay, Anil can talk, Anil can walk, Anil can talk, Anil can walk, Anil can eat, Anil can sleep, he can run, he can run, right? These are the actions which he can perform. If you take a dog as an example, it can bark, it can eat, it can bite, right? It can bite, it can sleep, which are the actions, of that objects. Okay, so to represent the behaviors or to represent these actions, okay, in a programming, what we need is the methods or functions. We call it as methods or functions. Methods or functions. Okay, so if you take Anil as an object, talk is a function, walk is a function, eat is a function, sleep is a function, run is a function. If I take dog as an object, bark is a function, eat is a function, okay, bite is a function, sleep is also a function. Okay, so to represent the behaviors, we have methods or functions. With the methods or functions. Okay, so if there is an object, right, and that object will have some properties which are captured with the help of variables, if I take an object, it will have some behaviors, behaviors means the action which some actions which that object can perform. So those are captured with the help of methods, or in some programming language we call it as functions. Okay, in Java we call them as methods. Okay, so actions what you can perform, okay, actions you can, whatever you can perform is called as behaviors, and using methods you can represent that actions in the programming. And all these what you see like talk, walk, eat, sleep, these are the names of the method. If you take pen, it can write, right? It can write. If you take knife, it can cut, right? That's the function or action of that. So any object that you take, it will have properties which is represented with the help of variables. Okay, and behaviors are represented with the help of methods in the programming language. Methods in the programming language. We'll discuss about the state when we are discussing. We'll discuss about the state in some time. What is the state? We'll discuss about that. For now, this is important for us. Okay, only these two will focus on behaviors. We will completely discuss when we are discussing about the whole details of object oriented programming. Object oriented programming. Okay, now only we are taking object from object oriented programming principles or object oriented programming structure. We are taking only the object, and we are discussing about the object. What is an object and what are the properties of an object and what are the behaviors of an object. Okay, so for an object you have some we have some properties which we call it as variables, which we call it as variables. For an object there is behaviors which is represented with the help of methods in the language programming language. So you can think now you can think okay, now you can think when I say class Anil, class Anil. Okay, class is like a form where you fill in the class is like a form where you fill in an application. Class is a form where you can fill in a application. And so now name of the form is Anil. Name of the form is Anil, and you are filling the details here. So name, you are representing name. You are representing first name. Name is the variable name. Name is the name is like a variable. Phone number, phone number. Then email ID, right? So like that you have some properties. Like that you have some properties. Okay. When I wanted to represent, when I want to represent this Anil object with the properties and behaviors, then class you think it as a form which you are filling. Okay. So you have name. Okay. You have phone number. You have phone number, phone underscore number. You have email ID, right? And so on properties you have. Now you can represent run. You can represent sleep, walk, talk, something like this. So inside the form itself, you are representing the properties and you are representing the behaviors of this Anil object. So using classes, we represent the objects virtually inside programming. So class will help us. This class will help us to represent okay, to represent an object virtually inside a program, inside a Java program, inside Java program. Okay, think that this is like a form that you fill in your colleges. Class is like a form which you fill in your colleges, like first name, last name, email ID, phone number, all this, and there is a reason behind it. What is a okay, you are virtually representing yourself. You are virtually representing yourself. Okay, you can think this class as a form type. This is like a form type which you fill on the colleges. Okay, so without classes you cannot create objects. So without form you cannot fill it. You go to a bank, for example, for deposit. Okay, you go for a bank. You're walking to a bank to do a task, right? You go to a bank to do a task. What is that? Deposit. Assume that. So deposit is a action. Deposit is a action because there is some task you're performing. There is some task you're performing. So if you directly go to the bank teller and give the amount, what he'll say? Go and fill the form first. Go and fill the form first. So you have to go and fill a form, right? You have to fill a form first. So in the form you'll have the date column, so which is a variable. Date which is a variable. So you will have name of account name, IFSC code. All these are the variables. IFSC code, account number, amount, amount in words, and finally your PAN card number, your signature, your signature. Then you represent that amount XYZ details, XYZ details there. Okay, you are virtually representing this. You can think this deposit form. Without this deposit form, you cannot perform the action deposit. You cannot perform the action deposit, right? Similarly, in programming, if you don't have a class, if you don't use classes, you cannot represent an object. You cannot represent an object. Okay, so classes are the virtual representation of an object, virtual representation of an object in a programming language. Okay, so now once you fill all this, then only this deposit function or this deposit method will get executed. Once you fill this, you take it to him, then he'll do a credit to your account. Okay, so similarly, withdraw is a function. Withdraw is a function. So when you go for withdrawal, similar thing happen. You go to an ATM, you go to an ATM. So in ATM, it will not directly give you by looking at us. It will never give you that. It will collect some details from us, inputs. It will collect some inputs. Those inputs are the variables or the elements, the properties, the elements or the properties, I can say. It will collect some input, which is called, which is collected inside a variable. So which is like your card. First your card, insert the card. It will read the strip and it will read some values from it. It will read the values from it. Then you have to enter passcode, pin number, right? Which is an input. Which is an input. You will be entering amount. If any OTP comes, OTP, right? All this you will fill it. Then only if everything condition match, then only this withdraw function will get executed successfully. It will get successful. So withdraw is a function. So in the form, you are representing all these details. Even virtually, when you go for that, you are filling over the application. You are filling over the application. You go to a, now there is no bank tellers. Most of the time it's an online transaction. It's an online transactions, right? Or maybe you go to a cash deposit machine. So cash deposit machine will not say, first you give me the cash and go away, I'll deposit. No, it doesn't know who you are. It doesn't know who you are. You have to insert the values, you have to insert the numbers. Okay, which is collected by the application it is collected by the application in the form of variables, the input or whatever the input that you collect, right? That will be stored in the form of variables in the program. Okay, and why we are collecting these inputs? To perform the actions, which is like to execute the methods. For example, if I take bank deposit is the action or the function. If I take withdraw, which is the action that it performs. Okay, so without classes you cannot represent any objects virtually inside programming. So if you want to represent any object in a Java programming, that is possible with the help of class. That is useful with the help of class. Simple to say, it's a blueprint. It's a blueprint or copy of your object of your object. Okay, it is a blueprint or copy of your object. Any object you can take. So when you start with a class, whatever the name that you are giving, you can think that as the object. You are representing the properties of that particular object and the behaviors of that particular object inside that program. So any questions on this? Any questions? Okay, fine. So now we know that there is an object and object will have behaviors, object will have some properties. Now, how to represent this in the Java programming? How to represent them in the Java programming? That rules and regulations we will learn. That rules and regulations we will learn. Okay, which is called fundamentals of Java. Which is called fundamentals of Java. Fundamentals of Java. So basically, if you look at the fundamentals of Java, right? So what are the fundamentals which is here is, okay, any programming language will have these fundamentals. It is not linked to Java. It is not linked to Java. Any programming language you take, it has these fundamentals. So these are like building blocks. These are like building block or base for your programming language. Base for your programming language. Without these fundamentals, create you cannot create any program. You cannot create any program. Okay, so there are something called character sets. There are character sets. Okay, the first is character sets, and then you have keywords. You have keywords or reserved words. Reserved words. Okay, so first we'll discuss about these keywords or reserved words and character sets. These are simple. There are n number of fundamentals. We will go through that one by one. So first in today's class we'll discuss about the character sets and keywords or reserved words in Java. Okay, so now character sets. Character sets. So character sets are like what is available on your keyboard. What is available on your keyboard. This is like capital A to capital Z, small a to small z, 0 to 9, and special characters. Special characters. There are special characters. Okay. So these are the characters. Character set is simple to say the set of characters. Set of characters. Character is like these are the representations like small a to capital A, small a to small a to small z, capital A to capital Z, 0 to 9 number, and any special character that is available on your keyboard. These are called character sets. These are called character sets. So now here you have some special characters. You have some special characters. Special characters. What is this special characters is on your keyboard, you have some special keys. You have some special keys called tab space or enter key. You have a enter key or a space key or a space key, right? So so these also has these also has some characters. These also represents inside programming as a character. For example, if I want to represent a tab space, then slash t slash t when I give it is a combination of with a slash where okay slash t indicates this is a tab space, which is a special character which you can give or which you can mention inside your programming. Okay, you can represent these characters also, this tab space, enter space, right? All these you can represent inside it. You have slash r, you have slash n. These are all special characters. This is like a new line. Okay, so something like this, there are some special characters. There are some special characters. Okay, so whatever that you see on your keyboard, whatever you see on your keyboard, right? All they are the character set. Simple to say that. Without these characters, you cannot frame a program. You cannot frame a program. So basically, if you want to write a program, you have to use this character set to write a program. You have to use this character set to write a program. As simple as it. When I am saying class, okay, if I don't use small a, small c, or yes, I cannot frame this word. So you have to use only these character sets to create only this character set to create a program. Okay. So now these are the next thing is keywords. Next thing is keywords or reserved words. Keywords or reserved words. Keywords or reserved words. So you can think character sets are like your alphabets. Character sets are like your alphabets. Now, what is keywords or reserved words? These are the words. These are the words. Like you are creating now some words. Some words. Okay. So the name itself says these are the keywords. These words are very key or important for Java. These are like key elements or reserved elements for Java. Reserved elements for Java. Right? So now, what is the use of these keywords? Why these are called reserved words? What is the use of these keywords? Okay, and why we need these keywords? That is important. So the name itself says these are reserved or keywords, which means which means your compiler knows your compiler already know the meaning of these words. Meaning of these words. Okay. Keywords are also called as reserved words, which means your compiler already know the meaning of these words. Okay. There are some specifications when you're using a keyword. So for example, your compiler knows the meaning. Your compiler knows the meaning of these words. Your compiler knows the meaning of these words. Now, when you are using keywords, okay, there are some rules. There are some rules defined. There are some rules defined in Java. There are some rules defined in Java. So keywords are also called as reserved words, and compiler knows the meaning of these words already. Okay, it knows what is the meaning of this word. Okay, so now keywords has some rules defined in Java. What are those rules? What are those rules? Okay, so the rules are like you cannot use these words, these keywords as variable names. You can't use the keywords as variable names or method names. So you cannot use these words to represent a function, a method name, or a property name in a program. Okay, you cannot use these keywords as a variable name or method name. That's the first rule. That's the first rule. So the next thing is okay, there are 51 keywords. There are 51 keywords. So there are 51 keywords. So you cannot use this keywords. You cannot use these keywords as a variable name or a method name inside a program. Inside a program. And the second, there are these 51 keywords. All will be in small case. Small case. You have to represent all of them in the small case. You should not give. You should not. You should not give something in the caps letter. Okay. So the keywords you can use, all will be in small case. All will be in small case. Now, what are those 51 keywords? What are those 51 keywords? We should know, or we should understand. We should understand. And so those keywords are defined in some, they are classified, or they are actually uh, divided into multiple divisions, I can say. So what are those 51 keywords is, when it comes to the classes. So class is a keyword. Class is a keyword. And there is one more keyword called interface. There is one more keyword called interface. So when you say class, your compiler know what is the meaning of a class, which means you're going to represent a form. Okay, what is the interface? We will discuss later. This is also a keyword. This is also a keyword. We have access modifiers. We have like public, private. So it knows the meaning of public. Public means anybody can access. Anybody will have access. Anybody will have access. Something like this. Private, which is only linked to that specific person or specific object. Static. Static. Static means it is common for everybody. Common for everyone. Common for everyone. Okay. So final. You have final, which means fixed. No change. This is final. Void. Void means, okay, no carry written. No carry written. No written. Okay. So this is how, these are some keywords. It has it know the meaning of these keywords. So when it comes to data types, okay, when it comes to data types, you have 8 data types. What is a data type? We'll discuss that later. But you have 8 data types. What is that? Int. It know what is the meaning of int. It know what is the meaning of short. Byte. Okay. It knows what is the meaning of int. What is the meaning of short? What is the meaning of byte? What is the meaning of boolean? Okay. It knows the meaning of boolean. Okay. It has float. It has double. It has double. And so it has some 8 data types. We'll discuss that later. Like this, it knows the meaning of these data types. What is int, what is short, what is byte, what is boolean, what is float, what is double. All this we'll discuss. Okay. But you should understand there are 8 data types. Okay. There are 8 data types. So which you cannot use them as a variable names. You can't use them as a variable name. Okay. So when it comes to the when it comes to the loops, you have a for loop, you have a while loop. Okay, it knows what is the meaning of for, or it knows what is the meaning of while. It knows what is the meaning of while. So you have something called switch statements. When it comes to the statements, you have switch statement, you have if statement, if else statement. It has else statements. Okay, it has case statements, it has break statements, conditional statements. Okay, it has a return. When it comes to method, it has return. When it comes to exception handling, try, catch, finally. When it comes to exception handling, Okay, it has try, catch, and finally. Okay, so it has, when it comes to classes, again when it comes to classes, there is a constant class which is called enum, a fixed class which is called enum, and there is a one more keyword called asset. Okay, there is one more keyword called goto, and there is one more keyword called const. Okay, and there is some values, which is like true, false, null. Okay, true, false, null. So all these are the reserved words. All these are the reserved words in a programming. So you can't use any of these words because your Java knows what is the meaning of int, what is the meaning of short, what is the meaning of byte, what is the meaning of boolean, right? What is the meaning of double? Okay, it knows all these details, all these details. Okay, so when you are writing any program, so you have to use these keywords to write a program. You have to use these keywords to write a program, but you cannot use them as variable names, or you cannot use them as method names. Okay, so your compiler knows the meaning of it. Your compiler knows the meaning of it. When I say class, you are representing some form or some object. Okay, so when you say public, it is open to everybody. Private, only limited to one person or one object. Static, common for everybody. Final means fixed. Void means no return. Similarly, we'll discuss about all these data types, all these data types, and all the loops, and all these 51 51 keywords, 51 keywords in detail, which we call it as fundamentals, learning these keywords, is called as fundamentals. Okay, we learn all these keywords and the behavior of these keywords, how compiler will understand, what are the rules defined for that, we'll understand in the upcoming classes. So any questions that we have? Any questions? I think I have not written that another two, the long and care. These are the two which I missed out. Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. So now I'm writing a program. Can you guys tell me? I'm writing a program, class int, class int. Okay. So int int equal to int equal to 1, and or int equal to 1, and one more thing I'm saying, uh, short boolean equal to 30, forget what is this in front of this, you forget this. So now I'm using the variable name as int here, and the variable name as boolean here, and the class name as int, and I am writing void void final final. I'm writing system.out.println hello. I'm just printing hello, and I'm closing this. Okay, and I'm closing this and closing this. So will compiler will execute this code, will compiler compiles the code. compiles the code?
No.
You'll get
Compiler?
compiled an error
Sorry,
because you'll get compiled an error
you get a
because
compile time error.
there is no main method in that.
There is no
And
main method.
and also file name is it cannot use keyword as a file name.
Okay. So don't
Class
worry
name.
about main method. Main method concept we'll discuss. Forget about main method. Forget about main method. Okay. If you are using older versions like Java 5, before Java 5, this is a valid code. If you are using Java 5, this is a valid code. From Java 7 onwards, it is made mandatory that main method is important. Okay. So we'll discuss about that also. When we discuss about main method, we'll discuss that. But for now, think that this is the code I have. Don't come to the main method now. Don't involve main method. So I don't need to have a main method at all to compile my code. Okay.
Then
I
also
don't need
you'll
to
get
have,
error.
yeah. So what is that error? I'm using I'm using
Keyword as file name.
keywords as variable
We
names.
can take
Keywords
float,
as,
sir.
sorry,
Variable name we can take float, sir. You taken a int and boolean.
int and boolean. Okay, I have taken int and boolean as the variable names. That is what you mean, right? So the name of the variables I have taken as keywords. I represented as keywords. So before going over here, the class name also I'm taking it as int. The class name is also I'm taking it as int. Here itself it will fail. Here itself it will take, because I cannot use, okay, I cannot use the class names also as variables. Sorry, reserved words cannot be used as class names also. Okay, you can't use reserved names also as class names. Any names, it can be a method name, variable name, or class name. Anything you cannot represent using the keywords. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Any other questions? Assuming there are no questions, in case if you have any questions, please do let me know. I'll help you to clarify those queries, and we'll wind up here. We'll look into other fundamentals and how to define the other types in the upcoming classes. Thank you, everyone. So we'll wind up the session now, and we'll continue the session tomorrow.